Education policy. I welcome Dr. Deosarkar sir for this session on glimpses in higher education policy. I take privilege to introduce Dr. Deosarkar sir.
Yes, go ahead, Dr. Bhusari.
Yeah. So Dr. Shankar Deosarkar sir is a professor in DBATU, Lonere. He has completed his ME and PhD from HGGS Mandal. He is a founder faculty member of DBATU and he has more than 30 years of teaching and administrative experience. Presently, he is working as a professor and project director of prestigious World Bank project TEQIP-III. He was a principal in Pune University for the duration of 2010 to 2015. He worked as a member of academic council, a member of executive council and chairman of BOS in DBATU. He has chaired many international and national conferences. He is a recipient of MODROP and RPS project. He has guided more than 6 PhD students and published many papers in various journals, and he has awarded patent also. He is a recipient of awards like Indo-US Eminent Educationalist Award, Leadership of Academic Program, and Lifetime Achievement Award. I request Dr. Deosarkar sir to start his session.
Hello, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
My screen, you find my screen?
Yes, the screen is not visible, sir.
1 minute.
Yes, now it is visible, sir.
Now it's visible, sir?
Yes, sir. Kindly proceed, sir.
Okay. So, very good afternoon to all. Now I am here to present you all the few glimpses of the National Higher Education Policy. Perhaps in the morning session, you have seen the in-depth information on the National Higher Education Policy, which talks about the technological interventions and connecting the entire globe of educations to the modernizations. The very immediate point which was raised by the Kasturirangan Committee on Indian education system, which perhaps we are listening from a decade, that though we are able to increase the capacity or the volume of the institutions, especially to mention the higher education institutions, it is very tough and difficult to see that the quality is not nurtured through all the levels. And that is one of the reasons that the NASDAQ has given a report that the employability is a very serious matter. And more than 25% graduates, up to 25% graduates are only employable. This is only because of the fact that the quality is missing to somewhere, or the connect to the industry was missing. And rightly, the Kasturirangan Committee, which has submitted a report by considering the all aspects from the industry, stakeholders, learners, students, faculty, and entire society. It is very much essentially seen or expected that the Indian universities should work as an engine of harnessing the research and innovations. The university should work as a generating the knowledge basis, a place of generating the knowledge basis. It should not be place of disseminating the information. And by and large, most of the institutions or universities are working hard on disseminating of information instead of generating the information. And now we recognize the value of the knowledge. This is the slide perhaps you might have gone through many times or during many presentation. This is the exam syndrome. So most of the universities or educational institutions are attached with this kind of examination syndromes and engaged in conduct of examination, declaration of results, planning the examinations, and the assessment and many things. But we never take care of the individual stakeholders' demand. That's what he want to learn. It is very nicely given in this particular snap that for a selection, everybody has to take the same exam. So the question is asked for the different stakeholders. And question is that please climb the tree. So climbing the tree is suitable for some of the stakeholders, but not all. And so this kind of mismatch is necessarily required to remove from our examination systems or from the examination syndromes. And so the new education policy is highlighting on the other aspect. The major aspect which was discussed in the entire policy was around the technology, because we know that the technology can become the wings that will allow the educational world to fly farther and faster than ever before. It's exactly true that if you are not connecting with the technology, it is very difficult for us to connect with the globe, because the demand for education is now not limited to the classrooms, not limited to the city or state or the nation, because the globalization has made us very genuinely placed on the competitive means of adopting the technology. And so we can't work without technology, or education cannot be allowed to work without technology. It doesn't mean the technology drives the education systems. It is not. It is a tool used to have a better implementation or better delivery of education systems. And so how wisely we are using this tool, it is the role of the teacher. It is the role of the planner. It is the role of educator in the education system. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you are
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The very famous report which was published, or every year it is published, but I have a documentation of 1920, which said that only 50% of the school students, those are learning in the 5th standard, are able to read the text. And so this kind of quality of education, which is the backbone of our higher education system, if this is the quality, then how we expect the kind of reformation that we want to take it to the highest level. And the special mention was given by the policy makers to look into this matter, and they have suggested that the dedicated arithmetic and reading hours for every primary school learners are specifically mentioned in the content delivery. The whole logical thinking and language skills, which is the essential part of early learning, which was also made compulsory during the schooling days. And also it is suggested that the integration of preschools and Anganwadis now will be becoming in the mainstream, or will join in the mainstream of education. These are not isolated places. The Anganwadis are connected directly to the schooling sections. The present complex nomenclature of higher education in the country has deemed to be the university, affiliating university, unitary university, and there is different nomenclatures also used. This will be ruled out, phased out from the existing, from the system. And now hence onward, we are having only public or private funded universities only. So to avoid the complexity in recognizing this university structure, the higher education policy has suggested these particular changes. The entire policy, which was designed by the eminent personalities, and they have taken the entire society's views into consideration, And basically the recent trends in economy, then the knowledge which is already with the Indian continents, and what is the demographic dividend which is available, and the emphasis on the STEM education, particularly science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and the A stand for the liberal education systems. So, and the another component that lifelong learning and use of technology in education systems and making the ease of governance at all stages is suggested in the education policy. The meaning is here that based on the Nalanda and Taxila approach, what we used to call as a treasure of knowledge, the Indian continent was a treasure of knowledge once upon the time. The same thing, the knowledge which is available, but it is not possible to convert or pass on to the different stakeholders. Now with the technology, it is expected that to transform this knowledge to various destinations and receive the recognition in terms of its values. The rightly mentioned it is here as the governance, ease of governance means also decided or proposed to nullify the all type of governances at different levels. Institution has its own governance. Then the institutions are governed by the universities. Universities governed by the state policies. State government is again governed by the AICT, UGC, DST, MHRD, and many more technical firms like pharmaceutical council, architectural council, law council, or many councils are executed in these education systems, and hence onward there is no different trees of this governance, and there is only one governance system, and so AICT will be dissolved very soon. Only one governance system, that is called as the National Higher Education Council, that is NSC, National Education Council. Education system, and so that is the ease of governance. It is very easy to work on the policies which are framed or by these policymakers, or which is implemented in the education systems in the years to come. The policy also considered the four different pillars, particularly the entire policy designed around excellence means quality, equal access means cohesiveness, covering the all sectors of the society, poorest of poor, and passing to the last person of the last person in the society. Expansion means based on the need. Sometimes it's the vertical expansion in terms of the higher education, PhD, doctoral, postdoctoral programs. And vertical expansion means the certificate programs, the graduate programs, diploma programs, then postgraduate programs, or the honorary degrees, or minors, or majors. All kinds of expansion is expected here or considered here while designing the policy. And the excellence means quality, equal access means cohesiveness, expansion means covering the all domains of learning. That should give the definite employability structures to the learners. And so the employability means it is the recognition to the learning, it is a recognition to the knowledge basis. And when there is a recognition, when there is a demand for the recognition from the industry. And so the cohesive approach is proposed in this policy so that the industry and education institutions are working together, and there is no working in isolation or working in compartments. And that's the reason that the policy is always talking about these four different parameters, and the entire policy which talks about these four pillars at all the times. The next point we consider here means the policy has referred the national and international documents, and they pick up one line from the Benjamin Franklin statement, that is, investment in knowledge pays the best interest for you. So it is a knowledge centration policy. Whatever thing which are described here are only talked about the knowledge and knowledges. The education policy cannot grow and exist in isolation. This is the statement. This is the main frame of consideration. And the education system needs radical change and not fine tuning. It doesn't wait for a long time to inculcate the changes. So this is expected by the custodian policy on national education draft. And so the phenomenal approaches are considered here as the policy should allow the philanthropic approach. Means the education should not be a profit making, or it's not a business type structures. So it is the approach must be philanthropic approach, like in the group like Tata or Wipro or many more industrial groups are philanthropically providing the support in the education systems. And so by more and more ways, this policy is expecting the involvement of philanthropic groups in the education systems. It is rightly seen from a couple of higher education institutions located in IIT particularly. You will see that in IIT Mumbai, I have seen one program, this is called as Material Science or Material Engineering, which was driven by the industry itself. It's the Bharat Forge industry. So the complete schedule or complete academic schedule was driven by the industry. The teachers from IITs are helping this industry, and the graduates, those are graduated from this particular program, will be directly placed in the industry. So this kind of models are expected in this particular policy. Similarly, the case with the Bharati Airtel Group in IIT Delhi, they are offering the various masters and doctorate programs or postdoctorate programs in the field of telecommunication, IoT, and artificial intelligence. And IIT Delhi is supporting to this kind of program. So these are the industry-driven program, but located at IITs, the IIT provide a degree, teaching support provided by IIT, and the other support of developing the laboratories, infrastructure, and the other financial support will be provided by the industry. And based on the industry input, the programs are driven and designed. The respect the cultural values and ethics, I think this is the major component which is given or added here in this particular system, so as to know the importance of brain drain and brain gain. So knowing the cultural values and ethics, if these are the part of the education system, I think we are making a more responsible graduates, learners in the education systems, and they know the value of the systems and they will work for the country. So that kind of patriotism is also essentially driven through this particular policy. And somehow, though it is found on the higher side, the brain drain, the policy also expect brain gain also, and the balance structure of brain gain and brain drain, they want to oscillate, or they want to control in this particular policy. When there is a brain gain, then when only we provide the best facility to learners. Now it is not the case that the education is only a local. The education now it becomes a global, and so to have a global connectivity, I think all kinds of learners should come together, and this is only possible if we provide the thread of quality in the education system. The social, liberal, and many other aspects of the society are also becomes a inherent component of the education policy. The use of demography for the national building is also considered during the early age of education systems. So all these points are considered in while drafting the education policy by the Kasturirangan Committee. And the very most important aspect now it is to be seen through the policy that it is first time after the independence that the education policy, particularly the National Higher Education Council, is chaired by a Prime Minister, not by the HRD Secretary or HRD Minister, but it is chaired by the nation, that is a Prime Minister. And so they knows the importance of education, and knowing the importance of education, the equal importance is given to the policy from the policymaker, that the Prime Minister, he himself is the chairman of this particular committee, the Higher Education Council. So the approach is well developed and well designed in the policy. The next point is also considered very nicely that without offering a kind of freedom without offering the kind of autonomy, without offering the external connectivity, it is very difficult to motivate. It is very difficult to oscillate the energy of learning in the campus of universities. And so the policy of liberalization, privatization, and globalization is expected to be a part of this education policy. So liberalization means marching towards to receive the autonomy. The decision making must be at the hands of the institution, not at the hands of the universities too. So autonomy in the sense that it is the academic as well as the financial autonomy. Autonomy in all sense. Autonomy along with the responsibility. Autonomy along with the accountability. So that is referred as the liberalization. Privatization, it is not the part as the sole part to be driven by the government agencies only. And so the philanthropic approach of inviting these industries or the different stakeholders from the society to become a part of the education system. And so perhaps you might be knowing that the L&T or Wipro and many more institutions are coming up and designing and developing their own educational institutions offering different programs. So that privatization has touched in the entered into the Indian education system. And globalization, it is already begins because recognition of your education, recognition of your knowledge is not pertinent to any continent. Now it becomes a global. And to receive the global recognition, I think we have to work hard. And the infrastructure wise, the knowledge base wise, the faculty forum and the research activities, innovations, and many more things which are connected with the quality education. If these are included in the education system, I think the globalization will slowly start to the Indian education system. As a part of this, already during 1990, Manmohan Singh government has already started this LPG policy in economics or trades or the finance management. But now it has reached into the education systems also. And an example, outcome of this is the PPP model, the public-private partnership model, which has come up like structuring the triple ITs in the nation. This is the outcome of this particular policy, LPG policy. So triple ITs perhaps are the IIT, the Indian Institute of Information Technologies, are developed as a partnership model. The industry or private partners and government, these three partners are working together for designing and developing this education system and bringing it as a model of PPP. Now any institution can go and opt this kind of model to have the generic approaches to add the approaches of the liberalization, privatization, globalizations, and many more things. So the policy is policy has given a freedom to connect the education with this kind of approach. And so it is the opportunity for the institution like Wardha College of Engineering also in the years to come. They also should plan to connect the industry directly into their campuses and design the program as per the need of industry and the need of the global employment, and see that the platform of education through this particular Wardha College of Engineering or Bajaj Institution of Engineering will be a platform to connect with the global, because there you are allowing the global students also to admit on the campuses. So globalization doesn't mean that only you are connecting with the education means, it is connecting with all means. The faculty will be international faculty, faculty from industry, faculty from the local, state or national levels will be a part of your education system. And hence onward, I think the policy is expecting this kind of dynamic changes into the system. And so fine tuning is not allowed. It is mentioned by the policy maker. It's a custom committee. They want fast tuning. The other glimpses are also covered in this policy, particularly the reforms in terms of this topic is covered particularly by the previous speaker, that bringing this reformation in the teaching, learning and assessment and examination system, and strengthening the teachers' trainings, and bringing the National Education Commission on the platform for instead of different regulatory bodies. So downsizing of regulatory bodies and promoting the academic and administrative and financial autonomy is one of the priority through this particular National Education Commission or Council. The clustering concept is also nicely given through this particular policies, and hence onward. In a region, you have to find out one mentor, and others are the mentees. Like Bajaj institution will work as a mentor, and other 3-4 institutions around this particular institution will work as a mentee. And based on the qualities what they govern, they can give and take, and in cooperation they work together. So this kind of approaches are also allowed to have in these particular policies. Then this common resource pool and campus owned institution is also another glimpse of this particular policy. Increase public investment in education. This is already begins here, because right now in higher education, 0.6 to 0.7% of GDP investment is observed in Indian education system. It is very low, which was expected by the previous policymakers like the Ashpal Committee or Kothari Commission. That time means before for 40 years back, they are expecting that the higher education should pump higher monies in terms of 3 to 4% of GDP. But still date, the particular pumping of monies with reference to GDP has not crossed the limit of 0.7%. And now the new government is expecting to add the financial environment with reference to GDP to the percent of 3 to 4 or more than 4% in the coming years. Strengthening the use of technology, it is also mentioned by the previous speaker. International of education, this is also allowed with the state, local, national and international framing is allowed for the institution. And National Research Education Foundation, this is a single regulatory body which is expected here in this particular policy, and so that ease of governance is also possible through this particular policy. The another important aspect perhaps are given here as the national educational policy. It is directly transporting our nation's sustainability into an equitable, vibrant knowledge society. So the meaning is that whatever knowledge we have, that knowledge should be developed and used for a creative means. Exactly, it is mentioned in the early session that the energy component or green energy or healthcare issues are to be focused through this particular education. Private institutions, they should not work as a profit activity model, not for profit activity models. PPP models are encouraged and increase the research institution in the education institutions. Policy primarily focuses on foundation of pillars of accessing the information at all corners of the society. Equity means providing the educations to the poorest of poor with the affordable cost, maintaining the quality, and also the accountability is on the heads of the individual institution, because they are giving the liberty to become autonomous. It is the very important observation, particularly through this particular policy, which is suggested here, that no affiliating university will be available in India by 2030-35. Means the status of existing affiliating universities becomes the university on the campuses. Like BATU Technological University, it is expected that the BATU will offer the programs on the campus only. There will not be any affiliation. And so the present affiliated institution must have to de-affiliate very soon by 2030-35. It is giving the meaning that de-affiliation means these institutions should receive the autonomy at all levels and should able to give their degree programs at their own. So this is the policy which is expecting that the universities, present universities, affiliating universities should work as a research universities in the campuses. So there are many aspects which are described here. The policy expect that acquire by experience, we adopt fast speed of knowledge bases in the systems. So without technology, it is not possible. be quick to reform from outcomes and feedback. So it is expected that the autonomy is the only solutions to have the quick reforms in the campuses, and courageous to be accountable and responsive and sensitive and responsible. This is only possible if the 360-degree feedback mechanism is allowed. Means the feedback is equally important at all the levels. Everyone is responsible. Government is responsible. Stakeholder is responsible. Institution is responsible. Responsible. No alone he will be held responsible. And so that's the reason that 360-degree feedback will be counted hence onward to frame the quality of your institution or framework of your institution or accreditation of your institution. Deployment of good governance at the academic and administrative levels. This is already spoken of having a single regulatory body in the system of education instead of having multiple regulatory bodies. And effective in transforming means must transform the knowledge effectively with the help of technology. This is repeatedly mentioned that anytime you should not ignore the technology as an integral part of the system. The another additional key focus areas which are described here in these particular policies are the National Educational Technology Forum is formed in the education policy, and that forum will only discuss the problems and issues of education, and will think of propagating the best changes in the education systems. The platform is open for all the stakeholders. It is not the restricted areas. Only the university bodies and the governing bodies are only deciding the policy of national education policy. But every stakeholder is allowed to be a part of this particular education forum. Technology integration into education processes is also equally mentioned. The Center of Excellence in Education Technologies are also suggested. It is nothing but that the individual institutions should see that and should develop the excellence in the expertise domain or expertise area which they belongs and receive a different kind of fundings. And a very important observation is seen through this policy here is that one window funding support, that is the National Research Foundation (NRF) is proposed in the policy, and this NRF will provide the funding to all institutions. There is no different windows operated to provide the supports for receiving the funding. And the important observation also made it here that there is no bifurcation or there is no differentiation between whether the institution is a private institution, whether the institution is an aided institution, whether the institution is the industry-driven institution. So they have considered the institution is the education institution of India, and based on the quality, they will provide the funding through only single window. So that is the important observation as a focus in this particular policy, and hence the recognitions to knowledge, recognitions to quality, recognitions to excellence is coming very soon in almost all campuses of Indian education systems. Vocational education, skill development, adult education, and promotion of Indian languages, they have taken it into consideration. And vocational education will begin from the schooling level, and like start from 8, 9, 10. Skill development, they want to have include the sector specific skills begins from 10, 11, and 12. Adult education means allowing these particular learners to join for any kind of education system, and there is no restrictions to join the education system. Promotion of Indian languages, actually the 3 language program which is recommended by this policy. There are some vibration received on account of this 3 language policy, but wherever the policy is accepted by the particular state government, they are allowing to have this kind of promoting the languages, Indian language promotions, because it is made compulsory or mandatory to class the first 5 years, including the Anganwadi, during the primary stage of learning. These instructions are preferably given by the mother tongue, in the mother tongue. So this is the proportions supported to this particular policy, and it is very much observation of the philosopher that the learner will learn better in his or her own language, and so mother tongue plays a great role here, and that's the reason that they are promoting learning in the mother tongue till up to first 5 years, and then freedom is given. Even though you want to continue the education in your own language, mother tongue language, you can continue, but the freedom is given to switch to other languages also. To brief you in short on this education policy, particularly on schooling education, in a couple of minutes I will finish it. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
So shall I wait for a couple of minutes so that I will listen to the other you want to on this.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir. Participant can ask their queries. I request participants, if they have any questions, they can ask now. Dr. Abhyankar sir also connected, so I welcome Abhyankar sir.
Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar, sir. We will start your session shortly, sir.
Okay. Yes. Shall I go ahead?
Sir, we will start at 3:10 to 3:15, sir.
Shall I go ahead?
Yes, sir. I think there are no questions,
Okay.
so we can proceed.
So in short, the schooling education, which is given up to 12, the right of education, it was before up to 10th standard. Now it is increased to 12th standard. And the proposed structure is like a 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. The first 5 years are referred to the foundation stage, including the Anganwadi sectors. And during foundation stage, the boy will learn the first standard. Then the preparatory stage is from second, third, and fourth. Means the next 3 years are preparatory stage, which is given in the mother tongue. The education is given in the mother tongue, preferably. And then the next 3 years are referred as the middle stage. And the secondary stage is of last 4 years, which is 9, 10, and 11th and 12th. These 4 years are referred as the secondary stage. The important announcement in the secondary stage is that the semester pattern is included at the secondary stage. At middle stage, vocational education is included, and along with the vocational education, the preference of any one language other than your mother tongue, the boy has to have up. Particularly the foreign languages also they want to learn. It is allowed to learn during the middle stage. The school complex is covered under the clustering aspect, particularly which I have mentioned here. The state school regulatory authorities will form the cluster, and under the mentee and mentor aspect, they will cover up this kind of thing. And the global the enrollment ratio, particularly, they want that 100% boys should reach to the standard 12 by 2035. Now, during schooling, particularly up to 10, the 60% of the boys are learning up to 10 standard. And then again, when we are moving upper side, the higher education component only having a GR of 20 to 25, that we want to increase by the double by 2000. It is expected to have the GER, this the enrollment ratio, gross enrollment ratio in the higher education is expected to the range of 50 to 60 by 2035. Now at present it is only 20 to 25. Then accreditation is also allowed in the schooling system, and the schooling sections are giving necessary focus on the basic learning themes that is called as a STEMS education: science, technology, engineering, and math, along with the liberal arts and vocational learning through the undergraduate programs. And the concept of design thinking and digital literacies and addition of the 21st century skills along with project-based learning. These all glimpses are added here in the education policy and will be integral part of the education systems. Tinkering spaces, innovation and incubation hubs, and experimental learning through research is also proposed in the education policy. The tinkering places, spaces means those who are not connected in the education system but want to give some input. So that is nothing but the tinkering space. Any odd man can provide the input to the system. That is the tinkering spaces. Innovations means this, just to mention it here as to cover the masses, it is very much essentially required to use the technology spectrum to cover the population of Indian continent, and to have the to reach at the last destination. The frugal technology we have to use it means the simplest, easiest, and affordable, cost affordable solution must be provided through innovative means, and that kind of support or the level of acceptance is given on more side those are offering the innovation in the education systems. And innovation, incubation, and research, these three components are become the integral part of the higher education system hence onward. This is the very important slide, particularly the entire higher education is clustered into the three sectors, different sectors. Right now, we are having more than 1,000 universities and more than 60,000 institutions and more than thousands of national list of importance like IIMs, IITs, or NITs and government colleges. So now these are all institutions they want to categorically specifically cover up into the three different sections. First is the colleges. So that provide the high quality teaching focused on the undergraduate programs only, with significant contributions to provided as input to the postgraduate programs. It is nothing but colleges where the high quality teaching is focused, and the output from these colleges will be directly connected to the teaching universities where the postgraduate programs are run. Means teaching universities are only specifically reserved to conduct the postgraduate programs in the education systems, and this teaching universities outcome will be provided to the research university, and where the focus is given on the world class research. Graduate programs are conducted, and the categorically these institutions are categorically mentioned in these three groups. The colleges which are not offering the best quality or the quality as per the norms, so below standard colleges will be closed gradually. It is not functioning well, they will be converted university. Teaching university doesn't give the qualities, then they will be turned to the colleges. And the colleges they doesn't work well, then the closure will be supposed to be provided, or the closure will be automatically operated on this kind of system. And what is expected here? It is expected that more than 50,000 institutions to be considered as the best colleges, more than 300 teaching universities should be established in the Indian continent, particularly in India, and more than 300 universities are expected by the next decade. So this is the policy which is suggested here. The another important aspect is also suggested by this particular policy, that is multiple exit and multiple entry option is given to an individual learners in the institution. For undergraduate courses, timing is raised from 3 to 4 years. For science, and for the engineering, the programs are 4 years. The 4-year programs, those who are completing are allowed to join a master program offering only 1 year. And the graduate, those who are finished graduation within 3 years, they have to do the 2 years master program in the relevant area. This is the proportion. Means anyhow, 5 years are required to finish the post-graduation. The graduate with 3 years require additional 2 years for completing postgraduate program. The graduate who has already completed 4 years, he requires only 1 year to finish the master program. So this is the change which is suggested here. And very important change is also given here. Hence onward, there is no B.Ed college as such in the education system. The B.Ed colleges are likely to be closed immediately by next years. And the component of learning, particularly the B.Ed education, is imbibed or integrated in the existing degree programs. Suppose the graduate want to be a teacher, as engineering teacher. So during 4-year degree program, the last year is exclusively giving the information or giving the trainings, particularly required for the teaching purpose. The technology usage, the methodologies, and the innovative methods, all these things which are to be pumped into the last year. And after 4 years, this kind of graduates are only eligible to apply for the teaching in a teaching community or as a teacher. This is very important. The last 3 points. See, hence onward, if the boy suppose join in Bajaj Engineering College, Institution of Engineering, he want to continue only 1 year of 1 year, then the institution should provide him a certificate which he learned through the 1 year. Based on that, the boy is eligible to receive the certificate, and the industry which want this kind of skills which the boy has learned during 1 year, this kind of industries will affiliate this kind of graduates for the employment. The boy who want to continue 2nd year, 2 years of learning, he may receive a diploma. If he want to exit from the system, he will receive the diploma. The boy who will finish 3 or 4 years, he will be awarded with degree. And the boy who will finish 5 years or more than 5 years, he may be awarded with honorary degree, dual degree, or integrated degrees with minor and major degrees along with the regular degrees. So these kind of changes are suggested. But now the question is like that: the institution have registered suppose 400 students in the first year. So it is not possible if the institution is not providing the best talented inputs or the quality education to the learner. The boys will move from your institution and join other institution after 1 year, because after certification it is allowed to join industry, or he may join other institutions too. And so here the crux of the problem lies here, that who deserve the quality, and the quality is only the point of acceptance to the learners. And so the freedom is given to the learners to join anywhere in the education system where he is satisfied with the quality research, quality inputs, qualities in the education system, or infrastructures, or research component, or connecting the industries, or the teacher's profile, all the points which are counted. And so here it is not only the important from the point of retention of teachers. Now retention of students is also to be seen seriously in the next decade, as the policy is going to implement very soon. These are the nomenclature used by the apex bodies. Hence onward, the MHRD is not present. It is called as the Ministry of Education. National Higher Education Regulatory Agency Authority is called as NHERE. National Repository System is only one system which provides the information on higher education systems. And UGC is renamed as the Higher Education Grant Commission. And new apex body is suggested as Rashtriya Shiksha Ayog, or NEC, which is providing the bridge between the state and the central government education policy, and which is chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister. So, to mention it here, I will go fast and we'll come to the point. This is very important point from the point of the individual institution. So as of now, we are talking about the NBA or NAC or QS ranking or time ranking, which is connected directly sometimes with the department, sometimes with the institution. So specifically, when we talk about NAC, it is about the institution. And when we talk about NBA, it is very specifically with reference to the institute, the department. And NIRF, National Institutional Ranking Framework, which is also decided by the national agency, typically for the institution. But hence onward, the ranking is possible for the subject-specific teachers also. Department-wise expertise also means if you have a domain of expertise, center of excellence in your institution, like on AI, then the faculty joins with the AI group will receive the recognition on account of these ranking proposals. Center of Excellence in Advanced Technologies, institution level rankings, faculty composite areas, graduate employability offered by the institution, industry connect and research and consultancy, patent and publication and peer review. So all kinds of these particular measures will receive the recognition in terms of ranking. Suppose your institution is ranked first in terms of the publications. The institution may get ranked first in terms of the patents generations. Some institutions are ranked only on account of providing the best employability to their graduates. Some institutions are ranked based on the composite areas of an individual group or individual teacher. And so the dates are not restricted only to receive ranking at the institution or the department level, but the individual student, individual group, individual teacher, individual subject expert will going to receive the ranking hence onward. And so this is the path of traveling towards the globalization. The last point which I want to mention here. So all the things are equally important, but we have to ask some question. This is my last slide, sir. So see, when we talk about the following, when our research contributes to the GDP, should we ask really question, what is the kind of research, the university publications, are these research contributing in the development of GDP, as like what the farmers, agricultural product developer, they are contributing in the national development. The industries are contributing into the GDP. But what about our university research? We have to think in a big way. When brain drain stops and brain drain begins, the meaning is that when the boys from the national institution will be a part of our institution, when the IITians are joining for master program in engineering colleges, the state government colleges, if this reverse path is allowed or offered, then we can say the quality is achieved at all levels. The another important thing is that the economy, when $1 is equal to 1 rupees, then perhaps we can see that yes, economically also we are on the top side, and definitely this economy will helps to grow the education in a big way. What is the per capita income highest in the world and where we are? Particularly, I'm talking in the Indian context. The GDP among the top 2 in the world, as we are in second largest in the population, where is the GDP stands? The Indian GDP stands. The GER reaches to 100% at school and higher education level. But what about our Indian education system? Already the European universities, so European countries like UK or USA, their GER is above 100%. And we are facing the problems of dropout students. So the disparity is bringing here that we have to work hard. When the demographic dividend contributes to GDP with the full efficiency, when we will receive the recognitions to our basic core research, when the institution programs are driven by industry, when the industry research begin at the Indian university campuses, and when the IPRs on the top and top 100 Indian universities are on global map. So all these things have to be seen thoroughly, and we have to march accordingly. And the answers to this is only and only possible if there is the quality, there is excellence, there is equity, and there is expansion in the right way as per the need of the all stakeholders, including the industry and the global partners. Education enriches with the quality, and we generate knowledge economy, and further is drive the industries and contributes to GDP. This cycle should be continuously run under the consistent efforts of the Indian universities, Indian education systems. I think I tried to push a few glimpses before the audience, and because of the short time, I could not add much more. So thank you, organizers, for allowing me to go with this kind of small presentations before you. And thank you, Professor Kanhe, and the coordinators of this workshop. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for the wonderful session. Sir has given overview of the national education policy and the glimpses of higher new education policy, which will affect the higher education. So, sir has covered major issues like the major reform in the national education policies and the effect of major reform in future on the education of higher education. Then, sir also discuss about the internationalization of education, then key features like skill development, then promotion of Indian language, Indian culture, and vocational education. And sir also raised some issues like the brain drain and the contribution of education to the GDP. So it was a wonderful session, sir. And I'm sure that this session will be helpful and very informative for all the participants. Thank you very much, sir. So now we have a very distinguished speaker, Dr. Hemant Abhyankar, sir, is a former director of DBATU, Pune. So it's my privilege. We will take just 1 minute break, sir. I'm going to share the presentation. Then I will take privilege to introduce Dr.